Live from our studios here in Accra and around the world, this is Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible. You're welcome to the Pulse. Well, this afternoon, President Akufo Addo takes full responsibility for the current state of the nation, acknowledging both successes and failures.
There's no ambiguity about where the buck stops when it comes to responsibility for what happens in the government. It stops with the president. He or she has ultimate responsibility.
We have details of his penultimate address to Parliament, plus reaction from the minority who reluctantly took their seats in the chamber following the intervention of the flag bearer of the NDC. Also coming up this afternoon, Royal Cozy Hill Hotel Human Resource Manager arrested in connection with the CEO's death, as recent termination of his appointment before the murder raises suspicion. Stay for details as Joy News is learning he left Jurapa for Takoradi the day after the CEO was killed. And later in the bulletin, teacher unions demand the inclusion of education priorities in the manifestos of political parties ahead of the 2024 general elections. Stay as we unpack a 13-page document signed by Nat Nagrat and two other teacher unions detailing various interventions they are seeking. Remember also that we have the latest on who is going to partner former President John Mahama for the NDC's ticket for the 2024 general elections, as the party is set to select its running mate on Thursday. We have details for you. The Pulse is live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV 125, around the world at myjoyonline.com. Also on our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube. Now let's settle for the details of today. President Akufo Addo has reassured Ghanaians of a free and fair election in the upcoming December polls. In his penultimate State of the Nation address delivered in Parliament today, the President emphasized his readiness to ensure that elections are conducted with utmost fairness and integrity. He highlighted the preparedness of security agencies to swiftly control any individual or groups pretending or intending to disrupt the peace during the electoral process. President Akufo Addo also called on political parties in the nation to conduct their campaigns in a manner free from hostility and hate speech.
Mr. Speaker, democracies are founded on elections. The holding of free and credible elections ensure that people have confidence in the government that emerges at the end of the process. The honorable members of this House, who are at the center of it all, know more than the rest of us that this is an election year. The increased decibel level in all communications would ensure that even the most politically uninterested person among us would know that on December 7th, we shall be going to the polls to elect a new president and new members of parliament. A lot of the responsibility lies on the Electoral Commission to put the organization in place that will ensure that we have credible elections. Government is doing its part to make the work of the Electoral Commission go smoothly. A lot of responsibility lies on the political parties as well. And I hope that the parties recognize that their credibility is also on the line, especially with some people wanting to undermine the multi-party democratic system of government. It is up to the parties to demonstrate that competitive elections are an honorable, character-enhancing experience. And at the end of the process, the loser will congratulate the winner, and the world does not come to an end because an election has been lost. There is nothing inherently dirty or corrupt about politics, and nothing about elections that should generate violence. We who are in politics, and we who are members of political parties, owe it to ourselves, the institutions we claim to belong to, and above all, we owe it to Ghana and the people of Ghana to make politics and elections the serious and joyful phenomenon they should be. In discharging their responsibility, I urge the Electoral Commission to work with the political parties to iron out whatever problems there might be. And I'm happy that the Electoral Commission, after engaging the parties, has shelved plans to change the 7th December date. Politics, after all, has been described as the art of the possible. And if that is what we are engaged in, it should not be beyond us to resolve the problems that come up and concentrate on working to build the happy and prosperous country we want. Government, on its part, will do what is expected of it to make sure that the reputation of Ghana is not damaged and the free will of the people is manifested at the end of the electoral process. I want to reassure the people of Ghana that I'll do everything in my power to help ensure the conduct of transparent, free, and fair elections on 7th December. I have confidence in the security services to ensure that those who might want to cause havoc or any kind of mischief to disrupt the electoral process will have no room to operate.
Well, additionally, President Akufo Addo reiterated his role as the foremost authority responsible for governing the country. He stressed that there should be no ambiguity regarding who bears the accountability for the outcome of any decision implemented by his government.
Under the Constitution, the executive power is vested in the President of the Republic. He or she is the executive. There's no ambiguity about where the buck stops when it comes to responsibility for what happens in the government. It stops with the President. He or she has ultimate responsibility. It would be an unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers and refuse the advice of his officials. But the fact remains that the president holds the executive power. The cabinet, the ministers of state, all act ultimately in an advisory manner. Of course, a member of the government might take an idea, be it generated by the president or the official or a committee, and turn it into a huge success, and the honors will be claimed or shared where public perception falls. But ultimately, the president is responsible, and therefore takes the credit or the blame for whatever happens in his or her government. Mr. Speaker, let me make a second point. The programs that come from the executive benefit from the rigorous public examination and debates to which they are subjected. We all now take for granted and sometimes even bemoan the vigorous media and civil society organization scrutiny that characterize public discourse. It gives me quite satisfaction and great pride to hear young Ghanaians today who believe that criticizing the President of the Republic and challenging government proposals are normal, regular activities. Some of the young people listen with incredulity when they hear about a Ghana that was once without private radio stations, and people had to tune into foreign stations to hear critical and opposition voices. Today, there are some 550 radio stations in operation in this country. In spite of all its shortcomings and difficulties, the people of Ghana have shown admirable commitment to multi-party democracy and have not faced instigations to resort to the violent overthrow of an elected government.
So let's broaden the conversation here on the pulse. Joining me on the line is policy analyst Peter Tekpe, and we'll also be speaking to the Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo, and of course we'll hear government response to this matter regarding the State of the Nation address. Now let me bring in Peter Tekpe to go through 142 minutes, an hour and 42 minutes presentation. Let me first pick your initial reaction to the State of the Nation address as it covers the period 2023. Mr. Tekwe.
Thank you very much. Indeed, if you follow the discussion, the meeting, if you follow the presentation by the President, you will notice that he has focused much more on the achievements. He has focused more on what the government has achieved that probably to them, the populace or the Ghanaian might not be aware, and so try to elaborate the kind of achievements that the government has achieved over the years, and also try to give assurance that indeed the government is in charge and then everything is being done to the best of their knowledge.
Right. So, I mean, for you, what were your highlights of the entire presentation before we get into sector by sector, as he told Ghanaians?
Sorry, let's just find out. The host is trying to let me join through the Zoom. Is that okay, or I use this?
Right. So we can go on. I just wanted to understand the highlights for you as we delve into the various sectors of the economy.
Yes, for me, there's one key thing that I was expecting. I think that the President has touched on it. In terms of assurance for the election ahead of us, you know, it is something that is very key. And I am very glad that he touched on that and gave assurance that, I mean, he's very ready to ensure that there is free, fair, and then very credible election. And I think that is very key because as we go into the election, those are some of the things that will play a role. And so for us to be given assurance by the President, we are very, I mean, hoping as well that it will be.
He was quite happy that the Electoral Commission saw reason in withdrawing earlier proposal to have the election held in November, and said that going forward, the Electoral Commission must do more to endanger trust and credibility in the electoral process. But also, there's a responsibility on the various political parties also to ensure that we have a free, fair, and transparent election. Beyond the words of assurance that I'll do my best as a president to ensure that the election is conducted in an atmosphere of peace, free and fair, and transparency, what more do you expect as we gear towards 2024 December?
I think that it is good that the Electoral Commission is listening to the various political parties, and I think that this election is very crucial. And so, in terms of trying to introduce a major, change which has been, criticized by the opposition, I'm happy that the ruling party has also, aligned as well. And this is what we expect going forward, that the two political parties will go to the IPAC, will go to the table and try to present a common front that will benefit Ghanaians as a whole. And that is what we expect. Even though we cannot take out the various, critics from the opposition, but normally we expect that with this particular election, the two political parties and other minor political parties will all come together with a common front and present it to the EC. And I think that when it happens like that, the acrimony will be reduced, and that will give hope to Ghanaians that indeed this election is going to be credible. It is very important that the two political parties, the major ones, present a common front anytime they go to the EC, and I think that will help.
Where do you stand on this issue of who is in charge and who should take responsibility for the successes and the failure of the government? He says in the presentation that as an executive president, he has all the powers. And so he takes responsibility for whatever has happened from 2017 up until now. Do you get a sense that it is in reaction to the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president presentation, or responding to critics who say that he is distancing himself from the mess, quote and unquote, created by the Akufo Addo administration?
I think the president has been very smart and strategic in responding to that. And so if you listen to what he said, he is buttressing what Dr. Bawumia said, and that indeed, as a president, even though you be advised, but as you have the authority you are the final arbiter. And so, yes, if the vice president made that statement, when the vice president made that statement, people were saying that he is distancing himself from the Akufo Addo's government. And this is to give us some assurance that the president is very much aware of the speech that he read, and that they decided to put it that way because of the way the economy has become. And so certain things that you will say that will make people know that you are on your own, that you are independent, and then you are coming to to your own presidency, wearing your own shoes. Let me support what you said, that yes, you have very good policy, this is what you will have done, but because I am in charge as the president, I have the final authority depending on the policy that I want to roll out. And so this is a very strategic way of responding to what Bawumia and supporting Bawumia as well. It is a very smart way, and I think that this gives me the impression that the speech by Dr. Bawumia has been discussed internally very well, and that is how the president responded this way.
Few issues, and then I'll bring in the NDC's Deputy General Secretary, Mustafa Gbamdi. Mr. Tepe, so issues on policy and direction. There was mention of the free senior high school policy. He is of the view that it is one of the best since independence. But more importantly, there is a need for us to have a discussion on how to improve upon it. There's also the issue of a tracker so that me and you can log on and track government projects instead of waiting to be told at the sessional address what government has done so far. How do you respond to these two key, very important issues?
Yes, indeed. The free senior high school, policy is the most famous one for this government. And in the 2020 election, that was the major campaign, message. And that is what did a trick for them. In the whole of their manifesto, they looked at the policy that resonated very well with the people. And they realized that the free senior high school has resonated very well with the people, especially, those who are in the hinterlands, those who are on the grassroots at the upper level. And so that is how come he made that statement, because he realized that that was a game changer for the government. And it is, even though it's a major policy, there are still lots to be done to improve on it. But the fact is that it has come to help a lot of less privilege. And you will not see the benefit of the free senior high school when you go to the upper level of this country, and then you understand the conditions people go through in order to go to school. And so it's a policy that has come to help the less privileged highly, just that it needs to be reformed so that it can be more of quality, and then it can also be improved to help make the education more of quality than what we are seeing now. And
indeed, I'm sure that's what he said, that going forward, there is a need for us to have a discussion on how best to make the program better. And I guess it ties in with what has been said by folks like the former President John Mahama, who is of the view that there is a need for a review of the free senior high school program. But hold it there for me. Let me bring in Mustafa Gbamdi, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Mustafa, you're welcome to the podcast. Let me pick your initial reaction to the 1 hour and 42 minutes presentation that represents the state of the nation as captured by President Akufo
Addo. Good afternoon to your cherished listeners. I want to believe that today Accra and Ghana is a boring country because the president have given a very hopeless state of the nation, a statement that does not reflect the reality on the ground, the statement that further exposes these government's lack of commitment to take responsibility for the mess. There is nothing strategic, there is nothing smart by a president who employs a day of the state of the nation to go and be campaigning for his vice president and also trying to share responsibilities. We know that we elected His Excellency President Akufo Addo as president and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as vice president. The two have messed up the country together. And so instead of coming together to take responsibility and willingness to fix the problem, They are rather dancing around the fire and trying to take responsibility, and who is not taking responsibility. Same president was in Parliament, asking Parliament to credit his government and whatever they have done, to credit the vice president for it. That president goes back to Parliament to say he's the one that takes ultimate responsibility. That is the highest mark of double standard. That is the highest level of insincerity that should be coming from a president at a time when Ghanaians are suffering, at a time where teachers are suffering, at a time where nurses are suffering, at a time where cost of living is skyrocketing, at a time where we cannot bear the burdens of this government any longer, at a time where corruption is at its peak, further endorsed by this president, at a time where the president claims he's using digitalization to fight corruption, but yet watched for his brothers, Ken Oforiatta and Gabi, to share 153 million of Ajapa deal to one another with no responsibility towards the people of Ghana. I
don't remember Ken Oforiatta and Gabi Asawachidako name anywhere as recipients of this allegation that you put across.
Their companies are direct recipients of the 153 million Ajapa deal dissipation from the public purse. So the man who promised to keep the purse is now trying everything possible to destroy the purse, and that is President Akufo Addo and his vice president. And so there was nothing inspiring about the state of the nation. It's a boring one full of slangs in French, English, that you can't even hear well, let alone to make judgment of it. And I stated yesterday that I was expecting the president to at least take responsibility for the mess.
And you did that
to
today.
At least apologize
Wasn't that
to
enough
the
for
people
you?
of Ghana for having supervised the highest rate of corruption in his government, to at least apologize for deceit, that projects that they have not done, they have claimed they have done. I believe that the president would have today apologized for lying, that they have constructed one village, one dam, when they have never done anything like that. I expected the president to apologize for collapsing the local government system upon his promise of $1 million per constituency, which never materialized. I expected the president and his vice to apologize for the toilets they claim they have built, which was never built. Clearly, it is not a matter of unfulfilled manifestos. It's a matter of dishonesty and lack of credibility and integrity. Again, what is important to remark from his State of the Nation is that he said Ghanaians will elect a candidate that is credible, a candidate with credibility. Clearly, John Dramani Mahama is the next in line, a man who is very honest.
Right, we appear to have lost Mustafa Gbandi there. We'll try and re-establish connection. Yes, Mustafa, we lost you briefly. Now, since you brought the issue of the elections and the fact that the voters should elect people with credibility as espoused by President Akufo Addo, let me walk you through the president's comments on the upcoming elections and what he will do to ensure that there's free, fair, and transparent election. First of all, he talks about the fact that government will ensure smooth operations of the Electoral Commission. The issues work with all political parties. Also, he says he will not do anything. He will do everything in his power to ensure a peaceful and smooth election on December 7th. And government will make sure the reputation of Ghana is not damaged as we go to the 2024 elections. Beyond the words of assurance, what more do you expect him to do as the president supervising an election in 2024, December, to be precise?
Well, the president is not peace counsel. It is not his mandate. His mandate to the people of Ghana is to put food on their table. His mandate is specifically to disburden the people of this country. We in the NDC do not think that he is in the place and the position to be talking about peaceful election when on his hand 9 people have died and justice have not been done to their families. We will force and ensure that any public officer who has anything to do with 2024 election does same in accordance with law, in accordance with credibility, in accordance with what is acceptable within the practice of the election. And so I believe that the president should rather focus on his mandate, that the mandate of the president was to keep the public purse. but he has watched over his appointees. He has used the recent reshuffle as a basis to further increase and balloon his government. When his vice president is preaching about a government cut, the president is busy increasing the government. And clearly that is double standard. And again, that shows a leader who lacks commitment towards his people. And so there's no credibility in there for anybody to talk about. There is everything gimmicks. There is everything dancing around the fire. The president is not apologizing for the fact that poor pensioners kept their money in the bank. But Ken Oforiatta encouraged government officials to remove their money from the bank, and then he introduced haircut, which swallowed the monies belonging to pensioners. And clearly these are Ghanaians suffocating. People are dying because of the hardship. People are dying because of mismanagement. Companies are dying. Business people are in debt and they cannot pay. That is the commitment of the president towards the people of Ghana. It is not to go and stand in parliament and be dancing around the fire and be giving us ceremonial speeches. That is not what we expect from a president. So clearly, the president lacks commitment.
Mr. Fao,
clearly.
Yes, one more issue, and then I'll bring in Mr. Peter Tekwe. There's also the issue of the free exchange. I mean, former President John Mahama, over the years, has always maintained the fact that there should be a review of the program to ensure that challenges associated with it are dealt with. Now, President Akufo Addo, apart from acknowledging the fact that it's been perhaps his best policy since assuming the reins of government in 2017, but admitted that there's a need for us to have a broader conversation on how to improve upon it. From the NDC's perspective, where do you think the improvement should start?
So clearly, thank you for this point, because when your government's fundamentals are very weak and you have pride and arrogance, the reality will expose you. The president clearly have now departed from his own government policy to be speaking into the policy of the NDC. We have always said that the NDC is not, and President John Dramani Mahama in his comments said, we are not against the free senior high school policy. What we have observed is that the way and manner in which it was implemented is problematic, is not feasible, is not sustainable, and that when we come in 2025, we will engage stakeholders and review same to the best practice, the best value that will benefit the people of this country. Mind you that when you leave your children and you are at work, their next available parents are teachers. As we speak, under the current dispensation, teachers are suffering under this policy. It calls for a review.
So what is your solution?
Of the student at the end of the day.
What is the NDC's proposal beyond the fact that you will be seeking inputs from interest groups? What are you putting on the table?
Well, we are saying that for a scientific approach to a problem, you do a review, understand the intricacies of the challenges that faces the policy. And we are saying that as it stands, teachers are suffering under the policy. You've heard His Excellency John Dramani Mahama propose an increment in salary for teachers. You've heard him talk about housing scheme for teachers. As we speak, even textbooks for these students have not been provided in the last few years. And so these are some of the things we'll be looking at. We know of infrastructure deficits. We also know in terms of feeding, the quality of food we give to the student. If you go to Buffer Stock Exchange today, it is almost collapsed with debts, because the amount that is used in feeding these students is not sustainable. So therefore, even parents recently acknowledges that these programs need to be reviewed and they are willing to contribute. So again, the president have now eaten the humble pie, departed from his own government's pride and arrogance, failing to heed to advice, and now talking about what the NDC will do.
So really, I'm so struggling to see the way forward. Is it a case that you are going to say, for example, if you should accept to go to a boarding house, you're going to pay for feeding, the parent is going to pay for feeding or the accommodation? Is this something that you are considering?
So clearly, these are technical issues that will be contained in the manifesto that will be absorbed in the coming days. They are very critical policy details. But I do know on authority and instruction of the former president, who is the next president of Ghana, that the NDC next government in 2025 will review the free senior high school in a direction that will give quality assurance, in the direction that will satisfy stakeholders, in the direction that will make the students more brilliant, that will ensure that our students are well trained for the future.
Right, thank you very much. Mustafa Gbande, I'll come back to you because your party a few minutes ago issued press statements on an upcoming meeting on Thursday, very important one. I will come back to you to talk about it, but let me bring in Mr. Peter Tekwe. Peter, you've been listening to Mustafa Gbande. Now we are heading towards 2024 election. The economy that was battered between 2021 and up until now appears to be showing signs of stability. That's according to President Akufo Addo. Now, the expectation from business is that government stays disciplined, especially in this election year, so that we do not overspend. You heard the president speak. What do you expect in the last few months as we go to 2024 to stay disciplined, to ensure that we still have economy and a country beyond 2024?
Indeed, looking at the economy as it stands now, you realize that in the president's speech, he dwelled partially on the, economy as a whole in terms of the macroeconomic indicators, because they were not too good in terms of what they promised and where we are now.
And if I can if I can just run you through, and of course our viewers, inflation according to him has dropped from 54% in December 2022 and currently at 23.5%. Real GDP growth from the first to the third quarter is 2.8% higher than the target of 1.5 for 2023. Cedi has been largely stable according to him since February 2023, with cumulative depreciation of 9% between February and December 2023. Gross domestic reserve is now $5.9 billion, translating to 2.7 months of import cover. Current account September 2023, 10 positive 1.7 GDP from negative 2.1. Macroeconomic indicators are pointing to the right direction. Programs like LEAP, school feeding and capitation grant, protected from IMF conditionality. So this is the outlook that President Akufo Addo gave us this morning.
Yeah, if you look at the outlook for the macroeconomic indicators, for instance, let's take currency. It is not because government is doing something unique. That is how come the cedi has stabilized. You are no more paying your external debt. So definitely the pressure will be low. If you were paying your external debt, you will have seen the pressure being increasing. And once this is taken out, don't forget that the major reason why government had major challenge in 2022, for instance, was because of the external debt that we are servicing, such that anytime the offshore investors are taking their funds out, then there's a problem. If you notice very well, even currently, the cedi is on a depreciation trajectory because the recent bond payment that was made, even though the external bondholders were just not much, the speculative aspect of it is what has created, because when you have a lot of money into the system and people are chasing the currency, then that is what happens. So it is not because government has done enough to rake in more foreign currency. That is how come the cedi has strengthened. No, that is why I realized that the little spark will cause depreciation. That is what is happening now. And so once there has been a reduction, now there has been some improvement, certainly they will take credit for it. But there is nothing unique that is being done. That is why we have to be very cautious in terms of the way we move. And that is why we have to look at what is ahead of us. Because we are under IMF, of course, inflation has gone down because we are under IMF and there are restrictions. And when there are restrictions, you will not be able to have certain things that you want to have, or you will not be able to do certain things that you want to do. That's why in 2022, at the end of the year, you saw that inflation was at 54. Of course, after the IMF have come on board and everything is, and we have to tighten certain things, we realize that inflation has started going down. And so had it not been the result of IMF, we wouldn't have been where we are now. And so the news about the economy turning the corner is because of the IMF, which has come first, not because government is helping in a unique way. However, when we talk of election year spending, if you look at the agenda for the government, Dr. Bawumia's focus is on digitizing the economy. of course, digitalization will help the economy in so many ways. Make transactions in terms of the financial transactions especially easier. Digitization is not a policy that anybody can own, because to digitize an economy is a system. And so anybody at all can come up with that system, because it is electronic, it is technology. And so we are waiting to see. That is why, even though the digitization, you see that the economy is not turning the way we expected. So what we want is that, one, government will have to be extremely disciplined in terms of their expenditure. We can see that there are a lot of road infrastructure work going on. The moment government begins to spend more than expected, then there's going to be a problem.
And of course, if you heard him right, he also indicated that they are looking at other sources of funding to complete some ongoing projects. And so clearly, the appetite for spending, we are likely to see it as we move towards the elections.
Yes. And the reason is that government realized that, you see, because we are in a political year, government want to be more visible to the people. Because when it comes to, cost of doing business is very high. People's disposable income has not increased the way it's expected, and then prices of goods and services are still high. And so what government wants to do is to be very visible to the people. How do you become very visible to the people? When you are in your communities, how do you get to the communities of the people? It's road infrastructure mainly. And so that is why government is focusing more. So realize that they have brought most of the project into this year. That is where, if care is not taken, there will be excess cash in the system. And when there's excess Ghana cedis in the system, the CD will continue to depreciate, because people will then try to look for ways of holding, buying dollars and then holding, because they know that
the deficit will also widen.
And the deficit will also balloon. Even though we are under IMF, it is not everything that IMF can be able to control. And so spending by government in this political season is very key. And that is the reason why, if you are not careful, the businesses that are already struggling, it will be worse for them, because there is going to be an overflow of government spending, and that is going to result in private businesses struggling. Currently, government is already crowding out the financial sector in terms of borrowing. And so every bank is tending to, lend to the government because of treasury, because that's the only way out. Private businesses that are struggling, unfortunately, are not having any leeway in terms of, interest cost. Interest cost is still high. It is very important that government will have to treat process. Other than that, they'll be thinking that they are becoming visible to the people, but unfortunately, the beneficiaries, who are the citizens and the industries and the manufacturing sector, they will be struggling, because you are not giving out policies that will benefit them. And that is where government should look at.
But let me ask you briefly on energy, so that I can bring in Musa Bagbandi. So energy, the president says that they deserve commendation. In the last 7 years, they've kept the light on. And the energy sector debt have also reduced significantly. IPP debt was around $1.6 billion, but now at $1.2 billion. Ghana has reached commercial agreement on headline terms in restructuring of power purchase agreement, IPPs, that result in total savings of $9.1 billion in the lifespan of the IPPs. Clearly, we've had the lights on. It is a far departure from what we witnessed between 2012 and 2016, especially. They deserve some commendation, don't they?
The fact is that the light has been on throughout their years, 7 years, and definitely we have to commend them for that. And also, even despite the fact that there has been some pocket of,
power outages here and there.
Power outages here, largely it's been very good. However, the fact is also that this government has not done anything significant to keep the light on. It is a fact. And we have to also give credit to the previous government for the infrastructure that they have put in place, for which it has rolled over to this government that is benefiting. That is the fact. The fact is that there's nothing unique that this government has done. If you notice very well, one of the things that has helped this government is that they have been able to maintain relationship with the power producers, independent power producers, very highly. That is how come when they even threaten that they will put the power off, they've been able to manage that. In terms of infrastructure, they have not done anything significant to keep the light on. That one, the credit will be given to the previous government. But in terms of holding it and keeping the light on, so far as they are in power and they have not experienced the many outages they experienced in those days, definitely credit must be given to them for that.
Right. Mr. Ogbande, let me bring you in. I don't know whether you have anything more to add on the State of the Nation address before I move you to the other leg of our discussion this afternoon.
Well, I think basically your expert, your neutral party have just spoken the minds of Ghanaians that, yes, of course, we've had some relatively stable energy in the last few years. And this is largely because the president can speak to Ameri. Ameri was not contracted by President Akufo Addo. It's surely done by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. You can speak to Car Power. Car Power was surely not done by His Excellency Akufo Addo, but to President John Dramani Mahama. It was even honorable for His Excellency President Akufo Addo to even acknowledge the contribution and efforts of the former president to have stabilized the power situation. As we speak today, DUMSOR is gradually coming, a syndrome that nobody prays for. But it is largely because in the last 7 years, this government, just as he said, is doing nothing and have done nothing unique or significant to, give us assurance that there will be power stability in the near future. So that is enough and suffice to just land it there. I am very, I think that we cannot continue to peddle the conversation of digitalization when people are hungry in a country, when people are becoming hopeless in a country, when unemployment rates are going high in the country. As we speak, NAPCO under President Akufo Addo, his own initiative have collapsed. Those young men are being owed. As we speak, they even owe as low as national service personnel. I'm worried when I have to remark that over 200 specialized nurses have left Kuala Lumpur in the last few months. This means that if we pursue this digitalization agenda the way Baumia is going, we'll finish the digitalization, but we'll have dead bodies and cemeteries to come and man these digitalized systems. The priority of Ghana and as a country should be how to stabilize the standard of living. As we speak, the dollar is going high again, and they know that. As we speak, there is food shortage in this country, and the government knows that. As we speak, a bag of maize, the price is going high, and the president knows that. But again, have not been able to give any hope of government's intention to resolve this issue. No feasibility plan in the short term to deal with this matter. And I'm worried that, we can have a president who gives this kind of statement to the nation at this critical hour of our country. That is why I believe that 2025, it is just important that Ghanaians will stage a change, peaceful change, remove this hopeless government, remove this government that does not impact in the lives of the people, remove a government that has typically become a leech in the bloodstreams of our economy and drawing what we have. In the midst of all these difficulties, can we beg President Akufo Addo to stop ballooning his government? That government should be reduced so that the economy can rest. He is increasingly and at the taste of increasing and ballooning his government, and we should speak to these matters.
All right, let's move away from this because there's another leg of our discussion this afternoon. We understand that the Council of Elders of the National Democratic Congress would be meeting in the next month to take some decision on the way forward in terms of who will partner the NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama for the election 2020. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, clearly on the instruction of the General Secretary, we have received as a party an official communication of the choice of possible candidates to complement the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as president in 2025. And in accordance with the practicing party and the constitutional party, Council of will meet and will discuss him, and then an executive committee will also meet to take a decision on it. And afterwards, there will be a formal announcement as to who the choice of the president is to partner him ahead of 2024.
The communication that went out says that names, it added S to with names, meaning it's plural, meaning that there's been the submission or the names submitted more, not just one person. Is that the case?
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. I was asking.
Hello?
I was asking if you can hear me. The communication.
What it means is that there are a number of individuals whose names have been shortlisted under consideration. And so within the filtration system and consultation, a name will emerge. Various groups will look at it and make inputs. Then afterwards, one person will be selected and settled on to pair the president. Surely, this slot is reserved for an individual who will complement to the vision of the president. One who will take responsibility of what the president's success and failures would be. Not this one that you know, who refuses to take responsibility when there is crisis, but yet he can be proud of government's performance. We need a running mate who will take absolute responsibility, complementary responsibility on the success of President Mahama's regime in 2025. And that is what exactly the party is going to do. And after the selection, what has been agreed on, all the rank and files will stand by that appointment or that nomination and partner with the president and his team to ensure that the possible change that Ghanaians require, the change that Ghanaians are yearning for, will come to pass in 2024, December 7th.
So does it mean that the final decision on the running mate will be a decision taken by council rather than what we be made to believe that it is always the choice of the flag bearer?
Well, the choice of the flag bearer is right, but it has to go through the rank and file of the party to ensure that the party structures make inputs as to who is best suited for the season and the time that we are in. Can the person complement the president in the difficult times that we are in, given the way this economy has been mismanaged? We have to consider a lot of factors, regional balances, and all of that. And so the party will definitely have a say when it comes to who we settle for a running mate. It is not, even though it's a prerogative of the president or the flag bearer, the party has a say, and that is what we are going to do in the next few days.
So therefore, council can take a decision to reject all the names?
We can take a decision to reject everyone and choose Mustafa Bandi as the running mate to pair His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, if the party so wish, and that is what it is going to be. If the flag bearer does not have an objection to the proposal that will come from the party's front, I believe that will be a good way. But I know that the party will stand by the president's wish and desire to ensure that the ultimate, which is to win an election in 2025, that choice will be able to complement that vision and that objective that the party has towards 2024.
So would there be a vote on the choices available, or you are just going to implement the conditions you've set forth, regional, ethnicity, and maybe even gender?
Well, voting and processes of voting at meetings has always been part of the NDC's custom as far as meetings are concerned. If it becomes necessary at any level of the party, either at the level of Council of Elders or at the level of the Functional Executive Committee or National Executive Committee, that a vote should be cast in order to arrive at a decision, that process will surely be tabled by the General Secretary and the National Chairman, and it will be done. But I believe that out of consensus consultation, we would have a smooth sail as far as the choice is concerned.
Do you know the names?
Well, even if I know the name, I'll eat the soup. I'll not eat the soup when it's still. When the council meets, I believe that we'll surely put a name out, a name that will shake the foundation of the MPP. Currently, they are in chief begging for people with credibility to come and pair. They don't have confidence in any of the people they have groomed. They are begging pastors to come and pair them. We have candidates that we believe have the competency, the credibility, the structure to be able to pair with the flag bearer. And I'm not afraid at all that the party will come to a conclusion on an individual that will surely help do the magic for 2024.
That doesn't just put so much pressure on the flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, knowing very well that with this announcement out, those who are very interested in partnering him for election 2024 will scale up their lobbying skills.
Well, why don't you see that as an opportunity for other people to lobby with the executives for that opportunity, for that slot?
The same way.
Yeah, so yes, it's a season. If you want to be a flag bearer, you go around and campaign. If you want to be a member of parliament, you go around and campaign. At the end of the day, the electors will look at a lot of factors and elect you as a member of parliament or a flag bearer. The same applies to running mate. So a lot of people are interested. This is our season. We'll be consulted. They have to call us and speak to us so that we arrive at the best choice. So the choice would be the interest of the party, a candidate that the party is willing to stand by, a candidate we believe will complement the effort, and I particularly pay emphasis to complementing the efforts of the president and his visions, not one that will any day come and stand outside and I was a mate as far as, can you hear me? That I don't have a responsibility as far as failure is concerned, but yet I can enjoy the successes. No. Collateral responsibility of governance, one that will take responsibility to say, okay, I have been with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We have delivered A, B, C, D. If we have failed, we have failed. If we have succeeded, we have succeeded. The alternative, the other one, is one that is lazy, one that is populist, one that is propagandist, one that lacks credibility, one that does not have the efficacy. He is one way to digitalization, but you need an all-round individual who understands various aspects of the economy to be able to be a president. And that is what the end is.
Mustafa, final two questions. One on the choice of a running mate. Now that you are opening yourself up for people to lobby you to be considered for the position of running mate, are you not encouraging what we have come to accept as monetization of our electoral process, where people pay money to be elected as parliamentary candidates? Is this not just another opportunity for people to exploit it to their own advantage?
But who told you that when you are lobbying somebody, you carry money along to go and lobby the people?
It's become normal with the kind of politics we practice in this country.
No, in NDC, you lobby, you speak to individuals, you sell your visions. You have to carry your CV in your bag. Because when you were schooling, it is not everyone that was there. You have to let the National Executive Committee members understand your capabilities and your credentials. And that is called lobbying. Lobbying has never been included bribes and payment of money. And so to my understanding of lobbying, as a Deputy General Secretary, if you want to be a running mate, you have to let me see your CV. I have to speak to your credentials. I have to say that I am agreeing alongside with the flag bearer because I believe that you can do the work. And so lobbying doesn't include monetization. It is MPP that does monetization.
All right. Before I let you go, just one quick question back on the State of the Nation address. I saw you followed your General Secretary to the Chamber of Parliament. We understand that your side didn't want to participate, didn't want to seek through representation. Why?
Was that the governor of Bank of Ghana insulted members of parliament on the minority side that they are hooligans. And as such, if you insult them as hooligans and you are coming to their house, you are not fit to be there. And for me, we agree with that position. We also do know, according to them, that the administrator of Get Fund have, refused to honor payment of common fund and using that money to purchase agric inputs and distributing to MPP constituencies to be campaigning. And so they just demanded that it is in place that the administrator of Get Fund honors same. The third position is that His Excellency President Akufo Addo have been disrespecting Parliament for some time. that whenever Parliament have struggled to put a bill together, for whatever reason, when it gets to the President for ascension, the President refuses, and that they needed to demonstrate that that conduct from the President does not endanger our democratic credentials. It does not allow the interests of Ghanaians to prevail.
But he told the members of Parliament why he was unable to assent to the witchcraft bill. That's the only bill we know. And it is within his democratic rights, provided for him in the 1992 Constitution. Just like you want the President to respect your democratic right, the same thing he exhibited. So why take this hard line to say that because of that, we were not going to participate in the presentation? The governor of the Bank of Ghana was not the one going to do the presentation. It was the President. So to punish the people of Ghana because the governor was in the chamber,
you don't think that if you have a governor of Bank of Ghana who is accused of breaking a law, and as such he has broken a law, who have supervised the almost collapse of the Bank of Ghana, members of Parliament have demonstrated, and you call them hooligans, you don't think that is a cause to be worried about in this civilized dispensation?
He was only a guest. He was only a guest of Parliament invited by the Speaker of Parliament. He was not going to play any role.
So they said they don't need him there. They ensured that he was not there, and I'm happy about it. It has to take the intervention of the national chairman and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who prevailed on the minority, indicating that, it was enough. Their protests have well been communicated, and that if government will listen, they will listen. So It was enough for them to do the business of the day. So truly, the minority members fully represented in the process till the end of it. But I'm saying that if a governor of Bank of Ghana can speak this recklessly to members of Parliament, it is important that they protest, and it's important that they take the action they have taken. And so we are solidly behind what they have done. We stand with them. But I would like to state that for the intervention of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the SONA today will not have been successful. And so if there is anything to be credited, not President Akufo Addo, it should be credited to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who just performed his key role as a former president to prevail on his party, as a leader of the NDC to prevail on his party side, to join the process of the SONA, irrespective of their grievances.
Right, thank you very much, Mustafa Ban, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, for your time this afternoon on the Pulse. We're taking a short break. When we return, tertiary teacher unions have launched a 13-page document titled Demands to the Political Parties on Education Delivery in Ghana for their consideration into their election 2024 manifesto. What are they asking? This afternoon, we'll be speaking to those those that signed this document, and they are demanding implementation by the political parties. We shall be back to deal with this matter. Welcome back to the Pulse here on Joy News. Now let's move to some other stories related to education, because pre-tertiary teacher unions have launched a 13-page document titled Demands to the Political Parties on Education Delivery in Ghana for their consideration into their election 2024 manifesto. The document, signed by the General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa, the President of NAGRAT, Angel Kabono, and the President of the Coalition of Teachers, Ken Awudu Ali, outlines their demand for incorporation into the manifestos of political parties. These demands are classified into 5 thematic areas, which include the free senior high school, the TVET policy, and teacher deployment. Joining us to talk more about this very important subject, of course, is Angel Kabono, the President of NAGRAT. Mr. Kabono, it's a pleasure to have you here. Good afternoon. Mr. Kabono, if you can unmute for me so we can have a conversation. Good afternoon, welcome to the Pulse. Right, so we'll bring in Mr. Angel Kabono, President of NAGRAT, but this is what it is. So enrollment in senior high school, according to the President, has moved from 813,000 to 1.3 million in 2016-2017 academic year to 1.3 million in the 2022-2023 academic year. This is enrollment in senior high schools under the free senior high school program. So more people having access to secondary education. Total cost incurred by parents, first year boarding student is gone up from 3,074. Even though there is in place the free senior high school, it looks like parents are even spending more to keep their walls in a boarding house. So it's risen from 3,074 in 2017-18 academic year all the way to 6,477 in the 2022-23 academic year. And this is from the Joy News Research Desk. Extra costs incurred by parents for these students. Parents of these students reported spending an average of 4,400 annually. That's a year. And they spend money on transportation, which is 50%, breakfast, 40%, and of course, books, 10%. So parents are also complementing government effort in ensuring that the free senior high school program is sustained. And this is how much, according to our research, parents are spending on an annual basis, 4,400, and 50% of it goes into transportation, breakfast 40%, of course, 10% for books as well. And so this is coming from the implementation of free senior high school led to government absorbing about 23% of secondary education costs, leaving parents responsible for the remaining 77%. Only 5.3 billion Ghana cedis out of the 7.6 billion allocated was expended on the policy, averaging 1.6 billion per year between 2017-18 academic year and of course 2021-22 academic year. And we'll try to re-establish contact with Angel Kabonu to tell us more about the documents that they're hoping to present to political parties so that they can incorporate it into their manifestos for election 2024. They don't want a situation where they come and promise them. They've put together their own document and they're saying that do this for us and we'll be happy as we gear towards the 2024 election. The Ministry of Education should refine the free SH. And this afternoon, we're told by President Akufo Addo that even though the program has been a success, it resulted in high, pass mark from the WASI exams, but there's also the need for a more holistic view to reform it and make it even better to address emerging challenges. So we don't have Angel Kabonu yet. When we are able to get him back on the line, we'll try to explore the issues that they've put in this 13-page document. They want to describe it as Teachers' Manifesto. But the human resource manager of the Royal Cozy Hill Hotel is the latest to be arrested in connection with the killing of the former chief executive officer of the facility, the late Eric Johnson. Joy News is learning the suspect was sacked from his position on Thursday. That's just a day before Mr. Johnson's murder on Sunday, sparking suspicion in the community. In addition, the investigation said that the suspect left Japa for Takoradi on the day of the murder. Let me bring in our Upper West Regional correspondent, Rafik Salam, for more on this. Rafik, so what more are we learning relating to this former human resource manager?
Elton, what transpired was that this is a human resource manager that was sacked on Thursday, 3 clear days before the gruesome murder took place. And so he was allegedly sacked on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on the 11th of February. The incident actually took place. I was also told us that people around his house, where he stays, gave information to the police that he is alleged to have left the house around 4 a.m. That very Sunday. And so he fled to Takoradi, and that was where he was hiding. And so the police, upon their investigations, went to Takrady, searched for him, and then they arrested him. They have to airlift him to Wa. Left him to work for further investigations. Upon thorough investigation on the issue, they move him back on another commercial flight back to Takrady, his base, his hideout, and then for more investigation. And after that, he was brought back to work. And so that is the situation. He's believed to be the prime suspect in the alleged murder of Eric Johnson.
So the question, why is he a suspect?
They are thinking that because he was a human resource officer of the place, and then because of what happened before he was sacked, February 8th, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. So there were a lot of suspicions that he may have hand in the alleged murder of Eric Johnson. And so the police have some clues, though the police are playing their cards closer to the chest, but we are also at the other side, getting information from other sources that this is how he was arrested, because it's even believed that he wanted to pass through Ilobo area and then up to some of the neighboring countries, and then the police got him arrested. So they think that the arrest of this man at least will give them some ways to unravel the mystery surrounding the death of Eric Johnson. And so we are told that tomorrow is likely going to be in court tomorrow. But let me tell you, what transpired today was that the 5 suspects who were earlier arrested this morning went to the High Court, praying the court for them to be granted bail. Remember, close to 2 weeks ago, they were remanded into police custody to appear on February 28th, that's tomorrow. So today they went to the High Court for the High Court to grant them bail, but the High Court refused to grant them bail today. So tomorrow they will be in court at the Wa District Court.
And we also understand that the youth in the area wanted to demonstrate because of what they describe as the police slow pace in bringing finality to this case.
Yeah, the youth first days, they wanted to do demonstration, but after a sober reflection of the issue, they turned it into a press conference. But they are really not happy with the way the police are conducting their investigations because no information is coming out. As I told you earlier, they are playing their cards closer to their chest. They are not giving any information to anybody. There was an earlier press conference that was held by the head of Jireba Musek, the person of lawyer Nicolas Soyiri, who happens to be the municipal chief executive for Jireba, also talking about some of those things. But he promised the youth that they will come forth with information, whatever they have investigated on, they will let the public know as to where they have reached on the investigation. But so far, no information has been forthcoming, and the youth are really angered about that.
All right, thank you very much, Rafiq Salam, Upper West regional correspondent. In a related development, family of a Ghanaian immigrant gunned down in Toronto, Canada, is seeking justice for their relative who traveled to the country in November 2023 to seek greener pastures. 40-year-old Adubuachi was killed by an unknown assailant in Toronto last week in what the Canadian police described as an indiscriminate attack. The police are on a manhunt for the perpetrator, believed to be in the ages of 18 and 25. Emmanuel Bright Kweku visited the family house in Kwawoma in the Ashanti region and has come through with this report.
Friends console the wife of the deceased, who has cried for days after hearing the news of her husband's passing. Grief fills the hearts of the family of Adubuachi, who was shot dead by an unknown attacker in Toronto, Canada. On Saturday, February 17, 2024, 40-year-old Adubuachi was killed in a random shooting incident in North York in the northwest of Toronto. According to the Canadian police, Adubuachi was shot indiscriminately close to the North Toronto bus stop while going about his day innocently. He was shot 3 times, twice in the stomach, and was rushed to the hospital where he later died. Brother-in-law of the deceased, Francis Kumi, recounted his last moments with him on phone before his passing.
Friday no obanisi scanama ti okwa akohwe na wasen scanama no ti no friend be 3 times me.
He called me some few hours before his demise that he had sent money to his wife but couldn't receive it, so he was going back to resend it. It was not until Monday that I heard of his demise at 5:30 a.m.
na no pana me na me kwete wa bonte be 5:30 tisi akosi bia bonitu.
Edu Boache traveled to Canada in November last year to seek a promising future and support his family of 4. His death comes barely 4 months after leaving the shores of Ghana to Canada. Dorcas Boache is a sister of the deceased.
He reached out 3 days after securing a job opportunity. He promised to take care of the family, but unfortunately he couldn't fulfill his promise.
3 days no friend was a quick.
The family is seeking justice for their relative.
I'm reaching for is the person responsible gets apprehended, and that if there were any accomplices, they are also on.
On Saturday, the Ghanaian Canadian Association of Ontario held a vigil to honor a colleague they described as hardworking. Meanwhile, the police are on a manhunt for the perpetrator believed to be the ages of 18 and 25.
Edu Boache had left Ghana to see greener pastures in Canada. He was hoping to come back to change the fortunes of the family, but now they are left in sorrow and pain. The family are yet to come to terms with the demise of Edu Boache. From here in Kwawoma, in the Ashanti region, my name is Emmanuel Brightsquick.
Very sad story there, but to other stories, and residents of New Chemakrome electoral area in the New Javin South municipality of the Eastern Range say they are fed up with continuous attacks and robbery in the community. According to the residents, the influx of drug dealers in the area continues to pose security threat to both the aged and children. My colleague Maswell Kudeko has more in this report.
Residents of the area say the hoodlums have robbed them of valuables, besides constituting a threat to the peace in the area. Residents of the area, led by the assembly member, besieged some popular hideouts of the miscreants and set the place ablaze and fell down all trees therein. In an interview with Eric Kobe and Frank Asari, all victims of the activities of the miscreants expressed that most roads have become almost impassable and urged the government to save the area from lawlessness.
We have a lot of junkies that are really attempting to rape our kids here. There has been a situation where some of the girls were even complaining that when this boy sees them, they try to put their penis up to show them that maybe they are ready to do something. I personally have been a victim. That my nephews, they come from school, and when they were coming back home, they faced such problems with this junkies. They tried raping them.
Somebody barged into somebody's house, took away the bike. He came around and you realize one of the guys has been robbed, beaten up by these bunker guys. What is happening? Where are you going? They are all humans. And what this? No, we are not going to relate to this any longer. We are asking the media men, the police officers out there, the security personnel to come to our aid, to help us rid away or get on these people in our society.
Meanwhile, Assembly member for Kutown electoral area, Umar Isaka, have said they are worried that the activities of these miscreants will appear to become role models to the children of the community, and on the security agencies to step in to nip the menace in the bud for the 10 future leaders into hoodlums.
This particular area is not easy to raise in this area. It's either he end up being a junkie or he end up taking drugs and all that. So it's really a very big challenge. As I'm talking to you, this particular area, we have bunkers like 3 surrounding the area. So just imagine, how do you raise a child in a neighborhood like this? It's not easy. He would definitely, the probability of that child also growing up to be one of these people is about 70%. So it's really a very big challenge raising a child in this particular area. So we are pleading with the media, with the security, that they should come to our aid and help us.
Maswo Kudeko reports for joining.
And now to your election headquarters, Movement for Ghana, Movement for Change leader Alan Kojo Chamatem has promised to make access to loans easy for market women if he becomes president. Speaking to some market women in Accra, the former Trade and Industry Minister said his government will revive Ghana's economy and improve the living standard of the people. The following report has more.
Which started at the Tema Community 1 market and to Ashaman and the Medina market, is the former trade minister's way of familiarizing himself with traders in various markets for the upcoming election in December 2024. At one of his stops in Ashaman, Alan Trematin assured traders of the introduction of an affordable loan scheme that will be accessible to traders at an affordable interest rate and the creation of more retail market infrastructure.
There's a lot of money circulating around in the private sector. People are prepared to invest in market infrastructure as private business as long as government will provide the type of incentives that will make it profitable for them to make those investments. The fundamental point for us to realize is that 70 to 80% of people in Ghana are engaged in one form or the other of trade, retail or distribution. And so what happens to the trading sector has very serious implications for the strength of the economy as a whole. But I also made a point about the fact that if you look at the experience of countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, the Emirates, Shanghai, these are all free ports. And the reason why they've supported the establishment of free ports is the fact that it brings in cargo from all over the world, which is consolidated and then redistributed to the rest of the world. And the fact that you have a free port does not mean that your revenue would increase, because it's not the whole country that is declared as a free port, but you have an enclave that is designated as a free port. So goods coming into the free port are essentially meant for transshipment and consolidation of cargo for the rest of the world. And this could be a major economic activity for our country. Remember that we have the African Continental Free Trade Area. So if we create a free port enclave in Tema, most of the goods that will be distributed as part of the African Continental Free Trade Area could be shipped through Ghana as a point of consolidation or as a point of shipment. And that would increase the flow of vessels to Ghana. And that also then reduces the cost of freight that comes into Ghana.
Speaking to some traders during a tour of selected markets, the former trade minister hinted at removing import tariffs for the transshipment of certain goods in order to promote trade if voted president.
The economy of Ghana is anchored on the back of the trading community. And there are a number of things that we need to do to be able to improve the sector. First is market infrastructure, retail market infrastructure. I think going through the market, you've all seen that it's a major challenge that we need to address here. For the trading community to be able to improve on their distribution and marketing service.
Right, so let's go back to our earlier story about the pre-tertiary teacher unions. They have put together a 13-page document titled Demands to the Political Parties on Education Delivery in Ghana for their consideration into the election 2024 manifesto. The document, signed by the General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa, and the President of NAGRAT, Angel Kabono, and others, outlined their demand for incorporation into the manifestos of political parties. Now let me bring in Mr. Angel Kabono, who is the President of NAGRAT. Mr. Kabono, it's a pleasure to have you here on the pause.
Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Yes, so 5 thematic areas: the view of quality education, school enrollment, free senior high school TVET policy, teacher factor, and teacher deployment. Perhaps we can start from the free SHS, because I'm sure that you monitored the President's delivery of the State of the Nation address, where he mentioned, for example, the benefits the country has derived from the free SHS program, but also admitted that there are challenges that must be addressed. Perhaps we can start from the free SHS. What is your position on the free SHS going forward?
Yes, in principle, we agree that the free SHS is a good policy, but the policy is bedeviled with challenges, very serious challenges, which politically people continue to sweep under the carpet. And that we think that a regular and a constant review of every policy is the basis upon which that policy can be strengthened going forward. So we are calling for the government to, or whichever government that comes to power, to organize a stakeholders conference on the free SHS so that we can identify the weak pillars, try and find solution to them for the good of our children in school. That is the position that we hold. We also, in as much as we see the numbers going up,
right,
we are also interested in looking at the quality of the products that are churned out. So we should not only look at the quantity or the quantitative aspect, we should also look at the qualitative aspect of our free SHS.
So, Mr. Kabono, do you have any suggestions on the table, apart from the ones you spoke about? Somebody is of the view that those who want to go to the boarding house, they should be made to pay, and that it should only affect those who are day students. Even that data we have suggests that parents are supporting through transportation, provision of breakfast, and others.
Yes, that is the hypocrisy of the politicization that we see in this country, where instead of looking at the issues from the factual point of view, we cloud it with political innuendos. The fact of the matter is that, yes, the policy is in operation, but parents are still contributing in diverse ways to ensure that their children stay in school and stay in school safe and healthy. Again, when government doles out money from the state coffers to support education, it means that monies that could have gone elsewhere is what is being taken to support education. So what type of mix can we have so as to be able to, and please, education in Ghana is not only secondary education.
Right.
Primary basic education, we have the secondary education, then we have tertiary education. And today, drive through Accra, our public basic schools are a very sad sight to see. When you go all the way to the peri-urban areas, you have a situation where the government is reneged on its fundamental responsibility of providing very good basic primary education that will be attractive to average Ghanaians. So the only option in a lot of communities is the business-oriented private schools that are coming up. And because the parents cannot allow their children to wade in the community without going to school, they are compelled to use their meager salaries to pay for these private schools. So one of the lucrative businesses you get in this country is the opening of a basic school in this country.
Right.
And when basic school students pass their BEC, then they come and go to the public secondary schools. It tells you that there is a major disconnect from the public basic school function and the senior high school function. And government cannot renege its responsibility to the public basic schools and make and feast on already established senior high schools.
Yesterday, I spoke to the Ghana Medical Association ahead of the presentation of the State of the Nation address. The General Secretary made it clear that they are almost at the tail end of negotiation for a new conditions of service with government. Among the conditions or among the things that they are demanding from government is that they are made to retire on their salary. They are also demanding waiver on importation of vehicles by the members of the Ghana Medical Association, and also general improvement in their conditions of service, incentive for those who are set posting to rural areas. This 13-page document that you launched today, in terms of improving the conditions of service of the teacher, what is the position of the unions on this matter?
Well, we have stated that government ensures that the lifespan of collective agreements be respected and ensure that negotiations take place and take place at the right time. It is when you get to the negotiation table that we can unveil the details and the nitty-gritties of it. We don't believe that we should unveil the details of what we are demanding from government to the public before we go and demand it. Secondly, look, retiring on people's salaries. Some public services have been granted that largesse by state.
Right.
Like we have been saying, when governments take populist decisions of granting certain categories of workers, for example, the judiciary retire on their salaries. The senior officers of the police service retire on their salaries. The senior officers in the Ghana Armed Forces retire on their salaries. So if somebody also comes to demand that give us that largesse that you've given to other people, then it is you, government, who's caused it. You understand? So it's a good thing. Everybody would love to retire on his salary because what you take home from Senate is absolutely nothing to write home about. So for me, we have indicated in this document that government should respect and adhere strictly to the tenets of collective agreements that we have reached with them.
Right. Mr. Kabon, there's also teacher factor and teacher deployment. Tell me more about this.
Well, teacher deployment in this country is a very challenging situation. When you come to Accra or the capital cities in this country, there is a semblance, you have the feeling as if we have enough teachers in this country. You have to move to the rural areas, the villages, and communities in the regions, and you go to some school, and it is a very sad story to tell, where there are no teachers in the schools, or even if there is a teacher, it is the headmaster with one or two teachers manning that whole school. Again, you need to respect the internationally accepted class size. Yes, you cannot have an unending class size where you go into some classrooms and you see 70 pupils with one teacher. What type of knowledge do you expect that teacher to impact within the 30 or 40 minutes that is being given to that teacher? So for us, let's respect international norms, because we are all part of international organizations and institutions, and there are standards that Ghana is signed to, to ensure that we have very conducive environment that contributes an aid to teaching and learning in the various institutions.
So, for example, how many kids must be in a class?
In a basic school, the number of kids should not be more than 35 in a class. And in the senior high school, the number of students in a class should not be more than 35. This is an international practice. Everybody knows it. Most of them attend international conferences. When they come, we don't speak the truth in this country because we are afraid that when we speak the truth, it may have financial consequences. But you see, if the government is giving free education, right, which itself does have a financial toll on the budget and economy of this country, we should look at the whole thing holistically and go the full hog.
That means expanding infrastructure to accommodate more students, but limiting them in the various classrooms.
Expanding infrastructure in the schools. Try to build more schools closer to the communities where the students live. It is offensive to the rights of children to travel kilometers upon kilometers to access education. The educational institutions should be close to the communities where the students live, so that there will be a more closer relationship between the school and the community, and the child will not be stressed in accessing education.
You also indicated TVET policy. What do you expect to see?
Policy is already in place.
Yes.
As we have TVET secretariat in Ghana, we would have preferred a holistic secondary education, so that when you go to Wesley Girls, you see students doing general arts, science, technical vocation, business. So you have a more comprehensive education called secondary education. Be that as it is made, what the government is implementing now is a separation of what I would describe as the traditional secondary school from the TVET. But don't forget that we also have other sectechs in this country. So you know Suhun Sectech, you know Koforodia Sectech,
Takrady Sectech.
In Takrady, even in Fansipim School offers technical education as part of program in Fansipim School. It is our wish that this policy is expanded and that every senior high school should do all the programs that we can call secondary program that will prepare them for tertiary education. If we all sit down and have a conversation and we see that this type of approach is the best approach, then we go in as a nation to address some of these shortfalls in senior high schools that we find ourselves.
In the second cycle institutions, Mr. Kabonu, some of your members, headmasters, they've been suspended, some have been dismissed for some times, doing things that was initially designed to bring some comfort to the students. But government says that no, you are not supposed to do so. Do you have a provision to protect your members in this manifesto that you want the political parties to consider?
We don't intend to protect our members wrongly, or we intend to encourage wrongdoing in the system. What we will indicate is that the headmaster, headmistress, the teacher are all working under what we call the conditions of service and the code of conduct. These two documents prescribe disciplinary measures that a person is taken through when the person offends rules and regulations of his establishment.
Right.
Our call is that we ensure that the teachers, headmaster, headmistress, the teachers who have offended the rules be taken through the laid down disciplinary procedures of the Ghana Education Service. So we are not supporting wrongdoing. We just want that the laid down procedures be properly followed so as not to tamper with the rights of any worker.
So what is next now? Are you going to meet with the political parties individually and get them to commit to this pact?
Yes, a letter is being sent to all the political parties that our doors are open. They should arrange with us a day and a date where we can meet them and have a discussion. My brother, mind you, we are not in support of what happened in the past, where a politician stands on a political platform and out of the cast makes a political promise. A political promise that have not been subjected to intelligent and intellectual research of their party, and create the avenues where they can tell us where they are raising resources from. But somebody stands on a platform, makes a flowery populist statement, and then the crowd shouts in joy, only for them to come into power and start dancing using semantics to browbeat the people into submission.
Right.
That type of promise should should end forthwith. Any promise made by any presidential candidate should be based on thoughtful presentation within their manifestos.
All right.
So that when you make a promise, we should be able to refer to your manifesto and see that you have made that statement in the manifesto, and the manifesto is come up with concrete and demonstrable evidence of how you can find solution to the promise that you have made. It should not be the one who makes more promises wins the election. When they do that, we'll come at them, and we expect the media to also come at them, because they've deceived us with promises that you and I know they could not fulfill. And today they've not fulfilled it. So that's easy, loose talk to see the end.
And I guess to say safe, just stay with the teachers, 13-page document if you want to do anything to improve the educational sector in this country, instead of making promises you cannot fulfill.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Mr. Angel Kabonu is the president of NAGRAT, and he's been sharing with us details of the 13-page document they launched today to get the political parties to sign on to. This is the teachers' own manifesto they are giving to the political parties to implement in the event that they are in power. Well, our show is over for today, but for more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, stories on myjoyonline.com. The buck stops with me, Akufo Addo, on economic crisis, government to launch performance tracker for projects, JM Beba minority briefly disrupts SONA with pro-Mahama chance. More stories are on myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Brobe. You have a great evening. Take care. We'll meet tomorrow on the midweek edition of The Pulse.